to everyone who's participating in this webinar. Happy to be here. Clearly, the topic has been set forth in terms of outlook and the way forward for fixed income funds. Uh, Clearly, given the backdrop of what we've been through over the last few months and quarters, clearly this is a very tough time and quite difficult for investors to take a view on how to approach debt funds. So I'll try and bring a little bit of perspective into it. But before I begin, I think what I will start by emphasizing the benefit and utility of asset allocation, something we've always been insisting upon with our investors. So let me start with a small story which you can all relate to. Asset allocation, I often say is like having a balanced meal. It's very much like having a combination of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in your overall meal. And asset allocation is a lot like that. You have different asset classes which need to be in the right proportion if you want to remain healthy. You may have short-term goals, like if you're a bodybuilder, you want more of protein, so you could actually, for a period of time, maybe increase, your diet tilted towards protein. But I think in the long run, you'll have to fall back into having a balanced approach to all the segments. So I think somewhere along this, even debt funds actually fall within this sort of a pattern. So a couple of myths and I would say fallacies which still exist around fixed income funds, and the biggest one I think still is around the fact that debt funds should not be looked upon as a long-term investment, and I think that's quite untrue. If you really look at long-term performance of fixed income funds over 5 and 10 year periods, you'll actually be quite surprised to see the outcome. So let me give you a few numbers. If you looked at the 10-year returns from a liquid and money market fund, very short-term oriented, a typical cash-oriented sort of a product, you'll actually see that the returns range between 6.9 to 7.02. That's the average return given by funds over 10-year period. And what's the lowest return you would have got from a liquid or a money market fund? It's actually a little over 4.1%. So that's the range at the lowest return you would have got. Now let's move up further if you have to look at something longer than a liquid or money market fund. So when you look at short-term income funds or the PSU banking sector funds, corporate bond funds, all sort of put together, the return ranges between 7.1 to a high of 8.6%. And what's the lowest return you would have got? It's actually 7.1 over a 10-year period. So that's again the return range. And when you go a little bit longer into what is called the dynamic bond category or the G-SEC category, the range over a 10-year period is 7.9 to 8.65 again. In fact, 8.9 for a gilt fund. That's the highest return given by a long duration gilt fund. And what's the lowest return you would have got from these funds? It's actually 7.2. So this actually, in a way, represents the very inherent nature of delivering wealth or creation also through debt funds. So, most often investors look at 1 year, 2 year, 3 year horizon. That may be okay. But if you really are focusing on wealth creation and an asset allocation approach, trust me, even debt funds do provide you that kind of a return profile. So over a 10-year period, getting sort of a net return of anything between 7.5 to 8.9 is a very good rate of return. The second, I think, aspect is clearly around the fact that that there is no volatility, right? There is no downside. I think you must understand the debt funds do provide volatility. They do have inherent volatility associated with it. Like the numbers I just talked about, while the range may be, something like 7.5 to 8% across different product categories, the low clearly indicates that you can actually see, a fair amount of lower rate of return also. But the unique aspect is while there is volatility over a 5 and a 10-year period, none of the debt funds have lost capital for you. So that again, I think, is a very important element to take away. And the third, I think, is very important because you hear this very often. That the risk and return profiles of every fund is very different. So if some advisor comes to you and says that this is a debt fund, invest in this, and you ask, well, and you should ask, what is the risk in this? What is the downside? And he says, there's no risk in this. Trust me, that's not a good advice for you. So I think these are the three elements I thought you should be familiar with when you start looking at debt funds. So given that backdrop, where are we now? Clearly, we've had a very unusual year 2020 for both the Indian economy and the financial markets in general. But what's really important, if you look at over the last 24 months, clearly India has gone through a very deep credit cycle. And in fact, I would say this is an unusual period. It's not only a very deep credit cycle, it's also been very, very disruptive for the financial market and the corporate sector at large. And obviously, it's spilled over into the debt fund. So broadly, as we speak today, there are two clear trends emerging. One, that the credit cycle, which began in September 2018 post IL&FS default, is definitely at the present juncture not ending very soon. In fact, it would have ended soon had the COVID-19 really not impacted the broader economy. So I think in that backdrop, if you look at it, the fact that we have added stress coming into the economy because of COVID-19 related fallout, whether it's through lockdowns and the low level of production and consumption that we will see going ahead, impacting the real economy. Clearly, the credit cycle is only getting extended that much more. So credit, I think, as an investment theme, is not going to work for us, at least in the near term, unless the economy goes back into a strong growth path. That possibly would be the phase when you can actually start looking at maybe relatively higher yielding products. The other is that to offset the economic slowdown that we are seeing, there's a fair amount of uncertainty around the way this GDP really pans out. You've also started seeing very aggressive monetary policy easing, fiscal stimulus, and all the impact of that on the way the interest rate structure has. So we've seen interest rates go down. We've seen short-term and overnight rates move to historical low levels. We've also seen the impact of that on everything from deposit rates to the way long-term yields have moved. So while this has been beneficial from a return perspective, we've seen clearly certain product categories like the short-term income fund, the corporate bond fund, PSU debt fund, the long duration bond fund, and even the gilt fund deliver very good returns, beating any other fixed rate instrument, or definitely beating even the current high level of inflation that we've seen. But this, in our view, has mostly played out. So most of the rate cut or easing that we've seen from RBI is more or less already translated into the market game. So we are now got at a sort of a position where the credit cycle is not really looking very helpful in enhancing your return, which means you will not like to take low rated instruments in your portfolio. And on the other side, the rates have already moved so low that the YTM of your portfolios from a very high investment grade, very highly rated instrument is also much lower than what we've been used to. So clearly, what does the fund manager do, and what does an investor do? So I'll address this through a couple of aspects. One clearly is that from a fund manager's perspective, I think clearly there is now a premium attached to the high investment grade exposures, which means the portfolios now are definitely becoming a lot more conservative. They're focusing a lot more on highly rated issuers and instruments. And on the other side, they're also becoming quite I would say, keen on maintaining sufficient level of liquidity. And both these aspects are driven by two strong drivers. On one hand, you have flight to safety and capital protection in terms of your investment objective, given the uncertainty, given the sort of the risk environment we are in. And on the other hand, the fact that there could still be a certain surge or demand for liquidity from your underlying investors means that you have to keep a fair amount of the portfolio liquid, either in the form of cash and cash equivalents, or alternately in the form of a very liquid asset profile. So I think that's really how portfolio managers are presently trying to address the market scenario. Going ahead, I think clearly this is going to be the strategy across most of the debt funds. So you will actually see them focus a lot more on the credit quality of the portfolio, which means very high percentage of quasi-sovereign, which means PSU kind of names in the portfolio, a lot more of government bonds because they are the most liquid and to some extent can also help capture a little bit of the interest rate movement. And thirdly, you will also see among the private sector an extremely strong tiering of issuer profiles. So maybe exposures more oriented towards larger conglomerates, well-known industrial houses or industrial groups, and a few select, financial sector entities. So that's really been sort of the whole change or shift the way debt funds currently are positioning themselves. And in our view, I think this is the theme which will more or less prevail, at least till we start seeing three things. One, we actually start seeing a strong sort of signs of economic recovery, which means that all the stress which the corporate sector and companies can face in the current environment is actually declining. Secondly, you actually start seeing something called the bottoming out of credit cycle, which means that the pace of downgrade or outlook changes from the rating agencies actually reduces, and you actually start seeing more upgrades. That I think is an important trigger. And third, I think is also to look at in terms of how stable is the credit market? Is the liquidity and appetite to take on a double A rated or a single A rated exposure coming back from different class of investors, whether it's mutual funds, insurance companies, uh, banks, or even other class of global investors, or is it still you know kind of a hands-off mode? So I think that is possibly the stage at which you could actually start seeing some bit of change or portfolio strategy as we talked about. So this is the scenario as it exists today, and I think from a investor's perspective, I would possibly suggest that you actually have to become a lot more discerning and focused on primarily what is the portfolio that the fund is running. Like I mentioned, there are different flavors and types of debt funds, and not all of them carry the same risk, and not all of them can be seen similarly. So you actually have to distinguish among them, and this is where your advisor needs to step in. I think he needs to provide you his analysis on what is the nature of the portfolio, what kind of exposure it holds, is it concentrated, are there risks in that portfolio? If there are, what kind of risks are there? Can they be mitigated or are they significant? Not just look at the YTM of the portfolio, which is yield to maturity of the portfolio, and not neither look at past returns. So I think these are some important metrics that I would advise you to look at when you speak to your financial advisor. I think other aspects which I can possibly touch upon are clearly that there has been thankfully a lot of support coming in from the regulatory authorities, both RBI and SEBI. So, some of the concern that you may have had when we saw events of March and April in the financial markets, particularly in the debt markets, and also the spillover into the debt fund, I think have been largely addressed. Like I mentioned, one, there's been a significant shift in terms of portfolio orientation, and secondly, the liquidity issues which did impact debt markets have, to some extent, been addressed through the provision of LTROs and other liquidity enhancement measures undertaken by RBI. So at least from the present juncture, our view is that debt funds are a lot more safer, a lot more sort of better positioned to capture the current market trend. And I feel that you should actually not be as worried as you were earlier around taking an allocation to the debt fund. Again, I come back to the original point I made that please look at debt funds from a slightly longer point of view, because over a longer period of holding, you actually get very good returns, which not only beat your tax-free rates but even deposit rates, and adjusted for the volatility, can actually deliver quite good rate of returns in your overall portfolio of assets that you hold. So I think with those brief opening comments, maybe I'll take a pause here and hand it over to Kavya to take in any questions.
Hi, Aman. Thanks for laying to rest many conceptions. Thanks for reassuring the audience here that the debt funds have a future. I know that you are pressed for time, so I will just ask you a very simple question. What would you recommend to investors with a time horizon below 1 year, time horizon of 1 to 3 years, and over 3 years?
Right. Thank you, Prem. Actually, the beauty of debt funds is that you actually have very clear distinction of product categories meeting, those investment horizons. So if you actually have to look at an investment horizon of up to a 1 year, then the two products that I would recommend would be the money market fund and something called the low duration product category. So these are two funds which are very well equipped to deliver, reasonable returns with very little volatility. So they carry low duration risk. So they're also able to capture any sort of increase if the yields were to take place, over the next 12-month period. 1 to 3, the right product in the present juncture, like I mentioned earlier, would be very conservatively positioned debt fund. So the two product categories that I can suggest are the corporate bond fund and the banking and PSU debt fund. The third, for something beyond 3 years, and when you start looking at debt funds from 3 years plus perspective, my suggestion has always been, look at an SIP. You'll be actually quite amazed to see the returns from an SIP that you would have done in, let's say, a gilt fund, over the last 5-10 year period. The returns are really amazing. I mean, you would have got a sort of an SIP return of almost close to 10% from a gilt fund, as of 31st July. And similarly, if you actually are looking at a dynamic bond fund or a bond fund, I've always been suggesting these are funds which can actually help you build wealth. And please look at them from a longer term perspective. So long term, look at a dynamic bond fund and a gilt fund.
Fantastic. So thank you, Aman, for taking out time and being with us. And all the best to you.